What's up, guys? If you've followed me for a while, you know that I am a huge Harvest Moon fan. And I've been a Harvest Moon fan since I was very young. And I haven't played any of the handheld Harvest Moons. I've played a little bit of some of them, but not fully. So this video is going to be just me explaining why I love Harvest Moon so much. Because I think a lot of people, or a lot of big gamers, or people just, that wouldn't really look at Harvest Moon, don't really understand why it's such a great game. Because they're just like, this is like a freaking kid's game. Because it looks like a kid's game. And you're just like, really? You're just farming? That's it? Like, what's so fun about that? But you're missing out on so much on what makes Harvest Moon great. So I think I should explain a few things as to why Harvest Moon is so great and why I love it so much. My younger brother and I, we started to play Harvest Moon. I remember the first game that we got, it was actually his. It was on his birthday. I don't remember how old we were, but we were pretty young. And he started playing Harvest Moon and he got hooked immediately. And then I started playing and we would fight. We would fight because we wanted to play. It was like, no, you already played for an hour. Now it's my turn. And just to play Harvest Moon because it was just so addictive. You just start playing and you're playing for a long time, just like any other big game. And some people have compared it to Farmville. And I'm just like, oh my God, don't even go there. That's like the biggest insult for Harvest Moon, to compare it to Farmville. It's so not like Farmville. I think if you wanted to compare it to something, it's kind of like Animal Crossing. I've played Animal Crossing before, but I don't think it compares to Harvest Moon in the entertainment itself and how enjoyable it is. At least not for me. Animal Crossing was alright, but I think there's more things to do. There's more story. More character development in Harvest Moon. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't know about Harvest Moon is that it actually has a story. It actually has character development. And you really grow to love these characters. It's almost like an RPG. It seriously feels like an RPG. And just the art style is so awesome. It just, especially nowadays, like the earlier Harvest Moons, the later Harvest Moons, it starts looking like very anime-ish, and it just feels like you're playing an anime. And you just, like I said, you grow to love these characters so much that you really feel like they're your friends. Like, kind of like what I've said about Mass Effect. That's what I feel with Harvest Moon for these characters, where you're just like, oh my God, he's so cool, or whatever, and you just want to be friends with them. That's how it is. Like, each character has a personality of their own, and they're so unique. They're so awesome. Every Harvest Moon has different characters, but all of them almost always have similar characters. It's like, for example, what character? Like, there's always like an archaeologist type of character. Sometimes he looks different. Sometimes he's pretty much the same. Sometimes they just change his name. None of the Harvest Moon continue. Like, they're not continuations of each other. They're all separate stories. Every Harvest Moon you could only be a boy. And until Harvest Moon, after A Wonderful Life, this one, for the GameCube came out. Another one came out after this. It's called Another Wonderful Life, and that's when you could start being a girl. At least for consoles. I don't know how it was for handhelds, but for consoles, that's how it was. And this one, now I've talked about this in my Harvest Moon review, but I don't think I did it enough justice. Because it was more of like a review. And now I want to go deeper into it and tell you how great it is and like why it's so good. I've played A Wonderful Life and I've played Another Wonderful Life. A Wonderful Life is just you as a boy. And I think this one and Another Wonderful Life, this one and Another Wonderful Life, have, I think, a deeper story than any of them. It's more about the story than it is about anything else. And I think they go into deeper themes in these two, especially Another Wonderful Life, because Another Wonderful Life, they add a lot of stuff to it, and it's just I think it's a lot better. You definitely have more options in Another Wonderful Life instead of A Wonderful Life. But when it comes to the story, like I was saying, it just goes into deeper themes. Is that this one, it's a lot about family. Like, it's a lot about this. The story's a lot about your family, the family that you make. There aren't that many like love interests to choose. This one, I think you only have three love interests to choose from. And if you are familiar with Harvest Moon, that's very few love interests to choose from. It's more like the old school Harvest Moon. The newer ones, you have like 7, 8, I think, people to choose from to marry or to woo, like they say. Whoever you get married to, you have a child, and that child grows up to teenager and then to adult, and he actually leaves. But and you actually grow old. That's one thing that you've never seen in Harvest Moon, except for these games, the Wonderful Life and Another Wonderful Life. You grow old. Your spouse grows old with you, and you have like gray hair. Your spouse has gray hair. It's just so awesome. And your kid looks different depending on who you married. They usually look more like your spouse. Now that the kid growing older, that happens in Harvest Moon Animal Parade as well, and I can't remember if it happens in Tree of Tranquility. But for this to be an older one, I believe this was the first one to do that. The story goes into the family and how you raise your kid, what you give him, what they're interested in. You mold their personality pretty much. And one thing that I thought was that a lot of people have actually criticized this game for, is because it's so different, is that you actually, there's a pretty heated scene between you and your kid. I think he's a teenager in that time, your teenage son, where you have an argument with him and you slap him. It just goes, and you slap the kid and he leaves. He runs away or something like that. That was like such an uproar for Harvest Moon, because they had never gone that far with Harvest Moon to have you slap your kid. And when that happened, I was glad that they did that, because it not because you slapped your kid, but because they went deep into it. It was like, we're trying to tell a story here, and it's important, and it's meaningful. It's not just a game where you farm. It has these meaningful stories that capture you. And I was just like, oh my god, that's so different, but refreshing. But they've never done that again after this. But this one also, the one thing that I loved about this one were the animals. The animals looked and reacted more realistically. The animals in other Harvest Moons look very cute and very chibi-ish. And for them to get pregnant, you just use this like miracle potion, and they're like, oh, it's pregnant. And they're usually like all girls. Like, the cows are all girls. There's no boys. For this one, you did have females and males. Like, you had bulls and you had cows, and without a bull, you weren't gonna be able to have a calf. So it was more realistic. I loved that about that you actually had to get a bull. There was male sheep. There was goats. There was ducks. There was a female duck. There was a male duck. There were roosters. There were hens. So it was so cool. And whenever you had a calf, like a little baby cow, it was actually in like this incubator thing, and it was really small in there, and you could actually see it, and you could like feed it. It was so cool. And they've never had that again. Like, whenever you have a baby cow now, it looks exactly like the mom, but it's just smaller. Like, it's not like a little baby calf that can't even walk. And you had that in Another Wonderful Life. But then it's also really fun. I mean, the side note of Harvest Moon that also makes it very entertaining, and it's just like, it gets you really, it's a simulator, right? Is that there's a farming aspect to it where you buy crops, you grow them depending on the season, and you learn so much. I swear, I've learned so much about crops and about seasons, like when they grow, because they really, it's where in Harvest Moon, the crops that grow in specific seasons is exactly how it is in real life. So whenever my mom or my brother will ask, is this in season right now? I always think about Harvest Moon, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's in season in summer. And it's always, it's exactly, it's true. It's like, I'm not making this up, and Harvest Moon didn't make it up either. It's real. The fruits and vegetables that grow in specific seasons. So I've always gone back to Harvest Moon because of that. You have to take care of them. If you don't take care of them, if you don't water them, you could use fertilizer. They'll be better. The crops will be a lot better if you use fertilizer. If you don't water them, they'll die. You just have to really take care of them. And you could choose to be different types of farmers. Like, you could be more based on your animals. You could have more animals and crops. And just produce good animal products instead, like milk, cheese, and all that. And you have to buy this stuff to make it. But if you want to be more of a harvester, or more of a like farmland type of person, you buy more crops. You have a few animals, and you really dedicate yourself to your crops. You sell all this stuff, you get money, you buy more stuff. It's just so good. It's so good. It's one of the most entertaining games I have ever played. Seriously. I have so much fun playing this. I've always wanted to do like a little gameplay of Harvest Moon so you guys could see what it's like. But I don't have the connection for my HD PVR, so Animal Parade is extremely good just because it has so many options. Now, every Harvest Moon has something that you wish they would keep, but they don't. Like Harvest Moon, Another Wonderful Life, the one that I was talking about first, had a really deep story, and they really focused a lot on the story. And it had some pretty cool characters as well. Tree of Tranquility is a lot like Animal Parade, especially like they have pretty much the same characters. It's just like this one, you could do a little bit more. You could have your kids. You could have two kids. They could be boy or girl. They grow up. And then this one, I think you could only have one kid. So this is just like an expansion to this one, like a big expansion. So I prefer Animal Parade. But yeah, you could do a lot of stuff in this one. And this one, Harvest Moon Magical Melody, is actually like a chibi version of Harvest Moon. It's good. It's really fun. But it's not one of my favorites. And it looks different. It looks a lot like the old school Harvest Moons. These look more anime-ish. They all have the concept of farming, raising cattle, dedicating yourself to your crops, taking care of them, taking care of your animals, foraging, going around the wilderness to find stuff like little leaves and herbs and stuff like that. That's one of the things that I think everybody knows about Harvest Moon, is that it's about farming and it's about raising animals and taking care of them, blah blah blah. That's one of the things that I think everybody knows about. But I think some stuff that they don't know about is what I was saying, that it has a story. It has a story. It has a beginning and an end. And I'm going to show you a few clips. They're all going to be from Harvest Moon Animal Parade, just to show you how entertaining this game is.